Hello, and welcome to Moving Through Menopause. I'm joined by the Menopause Collective. Well, we are the Menopause Collective, is what I meant to say. And so, welcome this afternoon to Nikki, Chamberlain, Claire Ottewell, and Tamar. Oh, what's your second name again?
Challis.
That's it.
The only one in the world.
There's no mistaking this, that we are talking menopause because my memory is just ridiculous. But anyway, so it's not the only ridiculous thing about menopause. It is today we are focusing on sleep. And sleep was my nemesis. I've said it before, I'm saying it again. Sleep. Oh my gosh, I didn't sleep well for, I think it was about 4 years. And I was absolutely shattered, whatever word you've got for it. I felt awful. And I remember waking up, pushing the alarm off and thinking, how long is it before I can go to bed again? Honestly, it was that bad. So we know that sleep is so important for health. And so Nikki's going to give us a whistle-stop tour of why sleep's so important and why menopause messes with that so much. Nikki.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Phillipa. I mean, sleep, obviously we're talking menopause today, but sleep problems are something that so many people can relate to, I think. It's certainly something that I've known. It's certainly got worse sort of with my transition through menopause. But sleep it's one of the most underestimated parts of a healthy lifestyle. So we think about we need to eat well or get more exercise, or we might even think about our stress reduction, for example. But very often we don't think about sleep particularly. And actually, sleep is the thing that we still seem willing to most compromise to fit everything else in. And we don't necessarily pay, enough attention to it. But it's equally as important as eating healthily or exercising well. If you're not getting good sleep, then looking after the other parts, it's not a waste of time, but you're certainly diminishing the value that you get from them, to be honest. And there's two elements to sleep. So we recognise the quantity. So, it's recommended that we get 7 to 9 hours sleep a night, which a lot of people struggle to get. But there's also the quality of sleep that we need to think about. So, whether you sleep soundly through the night or whether your sleep's disrupted. And that's certainly something that, with menopause, we see an awful lot more of. Sleep is so critical because it's the time when the body repairs and restores itself for the next day. So we have tissue repair, we have cell growth in the muscles and the bones, which again, during menopause, we really need to look after more than ever. So getting better sleep helps those parts of the body that we struggle with more when we get into menopause continue to repair themselves. And then things like the elimination organs help to cleanse the body of toxins. And generally, it just helps refresh us and revitalize us for the next day. So it helps to give us more energy so that we can face the day better. And obviously, we know in menopause, fatigue and low levels of energy, again, is something that we struggle with. So, getting good sleep is something that's going to help us with those energy levels. It can also help with weight management. It balances the hormones, and also it stops us reaching for that sugar hit, because we have this kind of subconscious within ourselves which says that if we're low in energy, which has come from a lack of sleep, we must need a quick fix of energy. So we eat worse and we eat worse calories, and we grab that sugar, and a lot of it can be traced back to poor sleep. So if we can get better sleep, then we can look after that. And it can help boost our immune system as well, which, at the moment, not only with the pandemic, but we're heading into the winter time when there's more coughs and colds and things like that around. Good sleep is going to help us stay well and stay healthy. And then finally, there's so much to talk about, but the other final point really was around mental health. Good sleep can boost our moods, boost our emotions, help us feel happier. And that can help with things like anxiety and depression. which, are also things that we can struggle with a little bit more, it's menopausal time.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a perfect moment to move across to Tamar, Challis. I've remembered your name now. Because, this is your sphere of expertise. And so, to keep us mentally healthy, this sleep, not just the length of sleep, but the quality of sleep is so important. And I know that you've got some really useful tips to help us to get a better night's sleep, Tamar.
Yeah, so we look at things like, we call it sleep hygiene. So just look around at your bedroom. So is it cluttered? Have you got a load of stuff underneath your bed? Clear it all out, get the airflow going, open the windows, freshen it up a little bit. Is it clean? Do you need to give it a bit of a dust and a hoover? Because I know I feel better when the house is clean. I breathe easier and I feel better, and I feel like the energy and the air is flowing a lot better. So basically, tidy your room out, make it a nice place to be. What colour is your bedroom? If you've got a bedroom that's bright red, your brain's going to be awake and you're never going to get to sleep. So, calming colours, things like that. And what are you sleeping in? So is your bedding, and if you wear night clothes, are they natural fibres, cottons and things so you can breathe? Because if you're getting a bit sweaty and a bit clammy, you're not going to sleep well, So just think about, the environment that you're in, your mood before you go to sleep. So cut all the screens out at least an hour before you go to sleep. Let your brain calm. If you can read for a bit, that's great. Something gentle and calming. What else can you do?
And I think you were talking about when we've got things on our minds when we go to bed.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, but 3 a.m. is my wake up point. If something's bothering me, I'll wake up at 3 a.m. with it. So have a little notebook by your bed where you can write stuff down so you can think, okay, I've parked it and I'll look at that tomorrow when I'm awake and alert and have time. And if you find you are overthinking things and they're going over and over in your brain, a good thing to do is carve out worry time. So if it's half an hour in an evening, that's when I'm going to worry about the thing that's bothering me. So for now, I'm going to park it just to stop it going round and round and kind of holding you in that worry state. That can be quite helpful.
Yeah, I like that. You've mentioned that before. And I'm just thinking maybe your headset, you've not got your headset on. That could be. Anyway, that's not going to help you sleep, Tamar, clearly.
Is it going to help me sleep?
No. But we're just having some sound issues, and I'm hoping that it's not interfering with your high quality viewing experience at home. But anyway, so definitely for me, the sleep hygiene, and it's interesting you mentioned dusting the bedroom, which it's usually on the last thing on my list. If I'm going to dust anywhere, it's not necessarily going to be in the bedroom, but I'm interested in all sorts of weird and wonderful things, and one of them is Feng Shui or Feng Shui or whatever you want to call it. And that's a really interesting idea in Chinese philosophy. And it's very much about removing clutter and allowing for the flow of energy. And so clutter really gets in the way of that, as does dirt and dust. And it is fascinating how, if you do spend a weekend, if you can bear it, to really get underneath the bed and pull out all the rubbish and give it a good vacuum round, and dust, and even washing the curtains and cleaning the windows and all that it actually feels different in there. It's astonishing when anyway, so it's what is it? It's not spring cleaning, but we're kind of, what are we doing, Claire, seasonally? We're getting ready for fall. Well, it is the fall, and we're all starting to nest, but there's no reason why we shouldn't dust before we start to nest. What do you think, Claire?
I absolutely concur. My bedroom is my kingdom. My bed is quite remarkable in the fact that it's a proper nest. My husband likes a firm duvet, a firm mattress, so I sleep on a duvet, on the mattress, under a duvet. So my bed is like a little nest of feathers that I slide into joyously each night. I try and go for a good night's sleep. So I absolutely concur. And I wear cotton, Tamar, because I don't wear any artificial things against my skin, because I found it does make a huge difference. You're right. Absolutely. What I can add is look at the Chinese organ body clock to work out what is waking you up at 3 a.m. So if it's a 3 a.m. thing, 3 to 5 is the liver. So if what's waking you is like anxious, angry thoughts, the liver holds those emotions. So there's something in that. Also in terms of what you might be taking in during the day, which your body regards as toxic, which you may not regard as toxic. And I'm going to put caffeine down as toxic, along with wine, which will have some of you running for the hills thinking, oh my God, just stop now. But if I had £1 or, you know, for every client that I've had to ask to give up caffeine, and I'm talking about the first ones in the morning, like some people just think they can get away with 1 coffee a day right at breakfast time, it will still keep you awake at 2 in the morning. And it's not that it will stop you necessarily going to sleep, it's that wake up, and it's because the body's trying to process it. And a lot of us aren't, in this particular culture, cut out to drink caffeine. So just to bear that in mind, if you're looking for a hot drink in the morning to revive you, I recommend Dandelion root coffee. It's quite bitter, it's dark, it's got a lot of taste to it, and it really kickstarts your liver and your digestive system. So it's a great primer. And I have lots of clients report to me that it doesn't taste that different to coffee. You can put milk in it to make it more creamy, and you're not giving yourself any physical problems. The other things that I really like is I sleep on a bed of nails before I go to bed, which is a mat, which is
Fascinated.
big, and it's got all these little plastic things on it. It's called, you can Google it. It's called a bed of nails. You get them on Amazon or such like. In fact, I've written about this in my blog. And I lie on that before I go to sleep, and those hit all the pressure points on the back. So any tension I'm carrying as I get into bed, if I lie on that while I read for about 20 minutes, I find just completely just dials me down, and you get a really beautiful sleep. Similarly, if you wake in the middle of the night and you are feeling really anxious because of stuff you haven't processed, etc., then you could get onto your bed of nails subtly. And just again, within about 20 minutes, you go off to a really great sleep. Now, when you first start off, it's like, oh, but you do actually begin to really love it. And the feeling that you get, the warmth that spreads through your back is really rather gorgeous. And then you get like me, where you just can't live without them. Your 1,000 plastic pricks. It's great. That's what I call it. And in menopause, that's probably the only prick you're going to want anyway. Sorry, couldn't resist going there. Other things I like to use as well, I use a lot of mega vitamin dosing, is the ones that I find really help to switch me off are B3, vitamin C, and magnesium. And so I have a B3, which is about 500 milligrams, of magnesium, which I think is about it might be 500, and I have 2 1,000 vitamin C tablets, and that combination together seems to, within about 20 minutes, it's all happening at once in my house, is literally pulls me into a really replenishing sleep. Now, I'm someone that has all kinds of health issues and isn't used to good sleep and needs a lot of sleep. And this sometimes gets me all the way through the night, which my bladder does its best not to. And this actually can override that. So that's worked for me. In terms of essential oils, I diffuse every night whilst I'm lying on my bed of pricks, after my vitamins, whilst I'm reading. And I would recommend, the essential oils that are going to work for you are going to be down to taste, but obviously lavender is one we all look to for calming us. But there might be other things you might like to add in there, like vetiver. Some people really love those two together. That really pulls you deep. Some people like sweet orange with it. It depends on your personal taste. That works really well. And then there's, of course, sleep potions. So the herbs that you'd be looking for to help you drift away to fairyland are valerian, hops, lavender again. I like St. John's wort, rose, mullein, stops you overthinking, melissa. So it's kind of like there's lovely little sleep drafts that you can get that also help with this process. And as I say to people, if you could start drinking that around 6, and then refresh it around 8, and then have one just before bed, so that you're not stacking it all up and going to be wake up going like to the loo every 5 seconds. That just starts to kind of, again, just ease you down. So that's it on my, you can see I do quite a lot to try and get sleep.
Well, and this is the thing that, taking responsibility to be our own healers, is important. And this is why we get together to share with people strategies and tips that they can apply in their own lives. And for me, of course, movement is my passion. And so I think, the one thing that we might not have mentioned so far is daylight exposure. And so we talked about not having the devices, and that's really because of the blue light that stimulates the brain and interferes with melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. And actually, if we get exposed to daylight in the early part of the morning, that's going to help with the circadian rhythms and the appropriate secretion of melatonin. And so, it's getting a good night's sleep actually starts first thing in the morning. And, as Claire was saying, not exposing yourself to stimulants, even first thing in the morning, the half-life is huge, and they will still be there in your system. But also the positive thing is to go out and get some sunshine, even with your early morning dandelion root tea, which I am going to try now that you've mentioned it. Even if all you do is stand in the garden, if you went and took a few steps around the block at the same time, maybe with the tea even, in one of those cups that you can carry around, coffee rather, whatever it is, and whatever is your preference, but definitely that will help to set the rhythms. And of course, I meant to bring them with me, but my new yellow goggles that I wear every evening as I am watching the television, my blue light blocking goggles, well, the glasses that go over my glasses. And so I wear those every evening from about 8 o'clock onwards. The idea is from sunset that we are not exposing ourselves to these blue light frequencies, which are present most in LED type lighting, in devices. They're in light bulbs. It's not just in devices. So and the propensity is now the street lights are all white lights. It used to be the subtle yellow lights, didn't it? And now they're all white. So I think I probably will refrain from wearing the goggles as I go around walking about in the evening. But my son is having a whale of a time laughing at me wearing these goggles in the evening, watching the television. But the other night I forgot them and I didn't have them on, and I was like, oh, this seems awfully bright. And then I realized I didn't have my goggles on. So, and it is, by 10 o'clock, I am yawning because by excluding the blue light, I'm giving my body those messages that it's time to rest, and Claire with her witchery knows that, we lived by candlelight. Then and that when the sun goes down, that's our message, is to start to settle for the night. And if you were a little animal, you'd be more inclined to follow the sun and the light phases of the day and the seasons. So anyway, that's my contribution to seasonal living, is putting on my goggles when the sun goes down. and moving early in the morning, and ideally getting daylight. Even on a dull, cloudy, rainy, potentially day, the lumens in the light is greater outside than any light bulb will ever give you. So there is no substitute. And I know there's light boxes and all of that, but the frequencies are limited in our daylight. If we think about the rainbow, the prism, do you remember that science experiment, splitting all the lights? These are all the different frequencies that exist. And so no light bulb will ever simulate the sun. And so if you can, get out. And if maybe even in the lunchtime period, get out and get some fresh air. And the one thing that I did really find beneficial was meditation during this period. And so yoga became something that I was involved in and learning about and training to teach. And along with that very much goes the rest at the end, which, you know, is so appropriate, that we get energized, and then we give our bodies this time for relaxation and repair. As Tamar said during the night, well, maybe it was Nikki, anyway, whoever said it, we need that rest period. And so meditation for me was definitely medicine. It was a sleep draft that I was taking on a regular basis. And my experience is that if we meditate earlier in the day, yet again, you know, oftentimes we think getting ready for a good night's sleep starts, you know, when the sun goes down. But actually, as I say, it's this whole day of preparation. And my meditation practice was better, definitely, in the earlier part of the day, often around lunchtime. You know, if you've got a cooperative employer who might just give you some quiet time to go and sit, you don't even have to lie down. Close your eyes. And this morning, Alexa, you know, if you have one of those devices, you get an email every Friday morning with what does Alexa do this week? And this week she had some really wonderful healing music that you could listen to if you ask her. And I don't have my phone in the room to show you, but it was perfect, the perfect kind of combination to sit with some healing music in your ears and relax and allow those cortisol levels to come down, and the balance, because that's what sleep is all about, this hormone balance. And we know that declining estrogen puts a spanner in the works, essentially, not to put too fine a point on it. So, I hope that we've given you some tips, and it's wonderful for us to be together and chit chat amongst each other. We're not chatting too much across one another today because of our sound challenges that we had. But, you know, let's weigh in. If anybody sort of had a thought while we were chatting, if there's anything to weigh in with, please do so.
You were going to talk about breathing.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Claire. I totally forgot.
Do it. We recommend you do it.
Yeah. Well, you know, let's think about that, because breath work is this window to the psyche, the window to the mental processes, that we can just turn down the dial on our stress levels, our level of arousal with the breath. And I don't know about you, but I do like to close my eyes at the same time. And so thinking of breathing through the nostrils only will access the diaphragm more, which means that we'll get a better breath. That is a deeper breath. And, you know, as soon as you start to talk about breathing, people start to take deep breaths. And actually, they're very invariably a shallow breath, all at the top of the lungs. And what we want is to draw the air all the way down to the bases of the lungs, the bottom part of the rib cage. I'll just tip my camera so you can see the bottom part of the rib cage. Yes. So if you place your hands on the bottom part of your rib cage and close your eyes briefly and exhale all the air out of your lungs, and then inhale through the nostrils. And notice the ribcage expand into your hands as you inhale, and then exhaling through the nostrils or gently through the lips. And the secret is to prolong the breath, so that long, slow breaths will be deeper invariably. And then exhaling. And so you might begin to think of breathing in a particular rhythm. And a good one to do is to breathe in on a count of 4 and then breathe out on a count of 4. And to count in your mind 1, 2, 3, 4, or 4, 3, 2, 1, perhaps a little bit more slowly. and then allowing that air flow to flow all the way to the bases of the lungs, expanding the ribs. And then we can introduce holds as well. So there's a breathing in the square, which is a really useful technique to encourage this, turning down the dial. And so you would inhale for 4, we'll go that way, hold your breath in for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold your breath out for 4. And of course, if you had a lung condition, you would do this under the advice of a doctor or a physiotherapist. And if you get dizzy and you don't like the feeling, then you're entirely at liberty to stop. So just even 6 breaths, 6 long, slow, full breaths will change the chemistry in the brain. And these are things that you can do, fairly surreptitiously at the office desk, without having to make it obvious to anybody, to do some slow, deep breathing. And I'm sure that's something that, Tamar, you incorporate into your practice. In fact, I'm sure it's something we all incorporate into our practices with people. But these tools, and in my experience, which is another reason why we're here together, is that it takes a village, and it's not any one thing where we will find the solution. And there's power in putting things together into a cocktail, if you want to call it that, but not an alcoholic one.
Party pooper.
Or a caffeine one.
You can drink, just not necessarily wine or coffee, because they're quite stimulating. Well, wine's just got a lot of sulfites and preservatives in that can make people, when they get into menopause, really struggle because it's not pure. Just stick with the vodka. Really
go for the hard stuff.
Vodka cocktail's fine then, Phillipa. Off you go.
I'll try it next. Yeah. So, well, I think, we've given lots of tips there. People will writing it down in a frenzied fashion. So we will put this out in the podcast, and I'll be compiling some notes so that you can have an aide memoir. I think that's important to be able to remember this stuff. Definitely for me, if I don't write it down, it's hopeless. It's gone. Anyway, thank you to the collective. It's so wonderful to see you all again today. And we're all ramping up, ready for International Menopause Day on the 18th of October. Let's not forget that. We'll be together again, some of us. And we look forward to, yes, Nikki.
Just one last thing, not to forget to mention that we do have our Moving Through Menopause Facebook group. For anybody that wants to pop along to Facebook and join, they can get more of our expertise and tips, and also share their own questions and concerns in the Facebook group. So we'd love you to pop along and join the Facebook group.
You're absolutely right. I'm so glad you remembered that. That's why I have to have more than just me, because I cannot possibly remember all this stuff. Thank you so much. We love to have you along on the Facebook group. Thank you all for today. It's lovely to see you, and we'll be together again soon. Take care. Bye for now.